I don't think Mega Man needs any introduction. Despite being some of the earliest to the scene, these games have stood for nearly 3 decades through wonderful level design, unique approach to gameplay, and being really, really difficult. I had all 6 of the classic NES titles on my 3DS as a kid. I sucked at them, but it was a good time. But now that I'm older, wiser, and presumably better at video games, I'm coming back, and with a bit of a vengeance. See, if you both love these games and were around some very obscure parts of the internet back in the day, you may have heard of a YouTube channel called Rowan Mithril. About a decade ago, he did perfect runs of almost the entire classic series. He'd go through each level using only the default Mega Buster, and clear the entire stage and boss without getting hit a single time. I remember spending hours as a kid watching these videos, and they were hugely influential. It was the first time I'd ever heard of a quote-unquote challenge run. Something about the idea of mastering everything, like some kind of complicated dance, to the point where you could beat the whole thing perfectly, stuck in the mind of a young Eve Citrus. Now these days the Durgan has, understandably, stepped away from these types of videos, but I've always wanted to pay tribute to this gem of a series in one way or another. I mean, really, how hard could it be? My pain. Bring it home. No! I took on the hardest bosses that Mega Man has to offer, ones that require inhuman levels of luck, precision, and planning. Today, we'll be perfecting Mega Man's hardest bosses. The rules are simple. I'm only using the default Mega Buster, no charge shots, and of course, I can't get hit a single time. These fights are going to go from a manageable afternoon to a week-long ordeal, but no matter what, behind each one is a pattern, so I'll be sure to break down everything I learned and exactly what I did to make it through unscathed, because at this level, you need to know what you're doing. There's a lot to go over, so let's get underway. Starting with... Oh, Elec man buddy, how hard they fall. I don't think it's any secret nowadays how to beat this guy, but back then the internet wasn't as big, and people knew a lot less. And when you take away the cheese, this guy is no joke. Elec man's pattern is as follows: he'll run forward at lightning speeds and jumps whenever you shoot. If he reaches one of 3 locations in the room, he'll stop, raise his arms, and fire out his signature move, the Thunder Beam. This thing is a massive threat. It moves insanely quickly, has a ginormous hitbox, and goes in 3 directions at once. If Elec man fires that thing off, it's a near-death sentence. So, make sure he doesn't? See, Elec man is one of the only robot masters in the entire series to possess a certain mechanic, knockback. And, luckily for us, one of the firing points is right next to where you spawn. So, at the very start of the fight, he'll run, raise his arms, and give us a chance to shoot him. This will knock him back, so he'll run forward and try to fire again. And we can keep this going for pretty much the entire battle. It's simple, sure, but not exactly free. You have just under a second to react when he throws hands, but that is a lot more time than you'd think. If you hit him too early, the shots won't register, and he'll likely catch you off guard with a successful zap. So, I found the fight worked best when I delayed my shots by just a hair. Once you get the timing down, it's rare to mess up. Yeah, while he certainly once was a formidable foe, Elec man really isn't that difficult. Poor guy. Unfortunately, that's about as easy as it gets. Oh yeah, now we're talking. Side note, does anyone remember I Can't Defeat Airman? Well, times have changed, but this Anko brand Boggleswog remains a pretty brutal battle. Airman's main attack is the air shooter. He fires out these swirling blue tornadoes that hold in the air for a few seconds, then come hurtling towards Mega Man. After doing this 4 times, he'll jump to the other side of the screen, and repeat. The thing that makes this fight so brutal, however, is just how random it is. There are 6 patterns that the air shooters can be in, ranging from ones that you can dodge without thinking to, oh no. 2 in particular are an absolute pain in the backside. First off, we have this diamond pattern. It looks scary, and that's because it is, but it's positioned in a way that a minimum height jump clears it if you time it just right. And then we have what I call the bastard pattern. Dodging it is, not happening. If there's a way to do it, I honestly don't know. give it an honest go, but if you hit this pattern, it's probably a reset. And that's what's so annoying. At any point, he can just end your run without a care in the world. The only real advice I have is a little maneuver you can do, where you stay at the edge of the room when he jumps to you. You'll have enough room to spam a few shots at him, but make sure to jump back over when the tornadoes move again, as there is a wind effect and you might get carried. Keep trying, learn his patterns as consistently as you can, and with enough luck, it should be a breeze. For me, it took roughly 30 attempts.
Whenever I ding my shot on a tornado like that, it's just... it's like losing a skee ball. Let's go. Let's go.
You might notice by now that we're kind of speeding through these bosses. Well, unfortunately, that ends now. Those are the only two fights I'd consider anywhere near a breather boss. From here on out, things are only going to get much, much more grueling.
Okay, so for this next one, I spent about an hour trying to animate it properly to do the do thing, right? But because there's the animations in the background, and Adobe After Effects makes you want to scream and bite things like a feral raccoon, I gave up. So instead, I'm using a stock image of a Bunsen burner. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be forgiven if you have no idea who this guy is, so quick history lesson. Released 2 years after Mega Man 8, Mega Man embraces this weird spin-off game, with the idea of being an SNES alternative to the PlayStation and Sega Saturn exclusives. And I'll be upfront, it's not a very good game, but I slogged through a bit of it because it's the only game in the series to have not one, but 2 bosses that Rome gave a 10 out of 10 rating. The first of these is Burner Man. Oh boy, call me scoliosis, cause this guy is a pain in the back. I read that, Let's take some time to break down Burner Man's pattern, since it's the most complicated thing we've seen so far. At the start of the fight, Burner Man will dash to the left of the screen, zooming back and forth across the arena for what I believe to be a random amount of time. Then he will perform one of 4 random attacks. In order from least to most hair pulling, we first have his signature move, the Wave Burner. This is a short-range flamethrower that Burner Man will hold in front of him for a few seconds. Then he'll deactivate it, jump, and fire it off at whichever side you were on when he started jumping. And right away you can kinda see how we exploit this. Just slide under him after he jumps and he'll genuinely never hit you. Furthermore, you can get a lot of free shots in this way. Keep in mind, however, after the 4th jump he starts dashing again, and that ended more runs than I care to admit. The second, and I hesitate to even call it an attack, is this weird pill thingy. He throws it in the air, arcing just ahead of him. If you don't destroy it, he'll usually just go into an angry yell and do the Wave Burner move again, but if you do shoot it, he'll just throw another one? I'm not quite sure why it exists, to be honest. For Burner Man's 3rd attack, and what I found to be his most common one, will defy all logic and gravity and spin in the air like Sonic the Deforestation Hog, before attempting to crash right into Mega Man, sending flames either side. The tricky thing about this attack is the arena itself, because, as you may have noticed, it's one of the few boss arenas more than a screen wide, so Burner Man isn't always visible. So it's surprisingly common to just get pile driven out of nowhere. There's 2 ways to counteract this I've found. First is just to prioritize staying near Burner Man as he dashes back and forth. It's risky, but it lets you know what he's doing, and if he's about to dive you. The other is using a bit of that game sense I always hear about. I'm waiting to see if there's a sudden disappearance of the Pyromaniac, preparing to dodge accordingly. You're better off doing this if you want to play around the sides of the arena, which in itself is a strategy I can only kinda recommend. I mean, yeah, Burner Man's flames don't go to the sides of the field, but remember about the— No! And finally, we have the killer about 70% of the runs, the Bear Trap move. Burner Man jumps up, and instead of busting his best aerial ace moves, fires 4 bear traps into the ground. And the traps themselves really aren't that bad. You have the tiniest indicator of where they are, and when you get stuck, you can just mash the D-pad to get out. But the real pain here comes from the Wave Burner. Now, you may be thinking, oh, it's just like his other attack. He holds it out for a few seconds, then jumps and retracts it. Yeah, the Wave Burner covers about a quarter of the arena at any one time. Most of the time, spacing it out just isn't an option. And like Michael Rosen once said, we have to go through it. On the 1st and 3rd cycles of the Wave Burner, there is a very small window where you have just enough time to slide under the Wave Burner's hitbox. Watch for the burner to hit the top of its arc. On about the 5th time it does that, he'll jump, and you should be able to just about slide under him. Mind you, I've pulled it off in a run maybe 2 or 3 times, and even then you have the bear traps to worry about. Genuinely just pray he doesn't do his attack, or that it's at least on one of the sides. Luckily it's his rarest attack, and he tends not to do it more than twice in a run. So that's his pattern: dash, attack, rinse and repeat until you take him down. In terms of general tips, positioning is absolutely everything. Each spot on the arena has its pros and cons, so weigh what you want to do. Do you want to stay near the edge? It'll risk the spikes and being cornered by the bear trap move, but dodging windows are much more lenient. Or do you want to stay near the center, with more dodging and jumping, but more space to do it in? Honestly though, I'd say a big part of this 10 rating is this guy's nightmarish stage, as the boss fight really isn't the worst thing ever. It's complicated and frantic, sure, but every attack is doable aside from the bear trap move. As long as he doesn't trip you up with that, and you have decent enough reflexes, he's more of a bit lighter than a forest fire. That wasn't too bad. And that's it for part 1. Yeah, this was a much bigger undertaking than I originally planned, so I've decided to split this into 3 parts. Next time, we'll be taking on arguably the most hated bosses in the entire series. Capping it off with one you've probably all been waiting for. Expect some different content in the meantime, however, as it's high time I figure out an identity for this channel. And lastly, thanks for all your patience. I'll do my best to pick up production. I don't want another delay like that if I can help it. Luckily I'm at a point now where I think I can start taking this channel as much more of a priority, which is awesome because I have a lot of things planned and I really want to get them done. Okay, that's all. Take care. See you guys next time. That's a train. Hello, train. Oh, it's like 2 minutes late. I'm lying, I don't know the train schedules.